Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time from Michael. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, topics, rankings, comparisons, lists, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box underneath the video. Now, Thou Shalt Not Kill Except is the movie to be talked about today. This is the Blu-ray from Synapse Films. They did a really good job as a Blu-ray and DVD. It does have two commentary tracks. One, I believe, is from an older DVD with Bruce Campbell and Josh Becker, and there's another one with Michael Felsher and the star Brian Schultz. There's a 30-some minute making of, which is pretty well done, well edited. Look good. It's also got the short film Stryker's War, about 48 minutes long, which is the original 8mm, starring Bruce Campbell. I shall get to that in a minute. Well, I'll get to it now. Thou Shalt Not Kill Except came out in 1985, but the idea started much earlier. For understand, Josh Becker, the director of this, who was childhood friends with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and the like, at one point had also worked with Sheldon Lettich. Sheldon Lettich, of course, would go on to direct Lionheart and Double Impact and work quite a bit with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And it was a movie that was going to be titled Bloodbath, but Sheldon Lettich wanted to make a bit more of a serious story in a script. Josh Becker's like, well, he wanted to have more fun. One thing led to another. Sam Raimi's making Evil Dead, and Josh Becker is one of the crew members on The Evil Dead. And while that movie was done, him and Bruce Campbell were going back. And from what I understand the story, during the drive back, the long drive back, I think Bruce was driving and it hit the top part of the car, hit something and opened up the roof, like a sardine can. So while all this noise and draft is coming in, they're talking about this script, and they change it from Bloodbath to Stryker's War. And Bruce Campbell, Josh Becker, they're throwing ideas back and forth, back and forth. That's why Bruce Campbell has a story credit, along with Josh Becker and Sheldon Lettich. And then when they got back, Josh Becker got with Scott Spiegel, who Scott Spiegel would go on to direct Intruder, which is a pretty fun 80s slasher film, From Dusk Till Dawn 2. Scott Spiegel helped write Evil Dead 2 after this film. And there had been a short 8mm movie, like I said, about 48 minutes long, and Bruce Campbell was the lead. And Sam Raimi played the bad guy, and it pretty much followed the events of this film, only you didn't have all the action, bloodbath stuff in the third act. Just, yeah, a little bit, but not as extravagant as this one. So when the time finally came to make this to a feature film, they could not get Bruce Campbell to be in the lead because Bruce Campbell had joined the Screen Actors Guild. And you cannot do a non-union film, otherwise you get into deep shit. So, or you'd have to pay a shitload of money, or you have to make it a union film, and there's no way they had the budget for it. Damn. That's trying to stop my voice from talking. Ironically enough, because that's one of the few problems I have with the film, is I wish there would have been a way for Bruce Campbell to star in this. I'm going to say it, sorry. I do like the film. I do think it's a fun movie. It's an entertaining cult film, especially the second half. I think this would have been a bigger cult film, though, if Bruce got to star as the lead. Just Brian Schultz as Stryker is not awful, but of the four main leads, he's the less interesting. He's the one I root for the least. His buddies I enjoyed much more, his three Vietnam buddies. Because it just applies simple. 4 Vietnam vets go after this Charles Manson-like cult, led by Sam Raimi. Right here. And literally the third act is just the soldiers fighting this cult with some pretty decent practical effects. And like I said, I do wish Bruce Campbell got to star in it, but sadly, all those reasons, it wasn't meant to be, I guess. And like I said, the story is, it takes place at the beginning of Vietnam, at least what they could film in Michigan as Vietnam. It was done very, very cheap budget. From 60,000, one number was 200,000, but I think it's more to the 60, 70, 80,000 type of area. And like I said, it's hard to make Michigan look like Vietnam, so you either got stock footage or, again, for the budget they had, it was what it was. But I think just it's the fast-paced fun of it all, and I like the supporting cast. You got Robert Rickman as Sergeant Jackson, who he was a local Mr. T impersonator for these local TV commercials. I think nowadays he's a personal trainer. He's in the making of, which was nice to see him. By this point, the mohawk gone. But at this point, they had to put these fake things in the hair because the mohawk was his bread and butter. And Robert Rickman I really enjoyed. He was my favorite character in the movie. He was a badass. I think he did rather well in his line readings, and I pity the poor motherfucker. He was really likable. Like I say, he was my favorite part of the movie, actor-wise. I mean, hell, he was a better... If this was B.A. Baracus, he was a better B.A. Baracus in the A-Team movie from 2010 with Rampage Jackson. Like Robert Rickman was better as Sergeant Jackson. You also have John Manfredi as this guy who thinks he knows what's up, but because of his inexperience, leads these people into a mission where some people get killed. He feels a bit of guilt to that, so he gets the other two men to go see Sergeant Stryker when they're back in the homeland. He's pretty decent, as well as Tim Quill. Tim Quill, he was the blacksmith in Army of Darkness. He was in other stuff, working with Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi and such, including back in the Super 8mm days. And like I said, the Stryker's buddies I thought were more likable and more interesting than Stryker himself. Because this Brian Schultz almost like trying to be a bit of John Wayne and maybe trying to be a bit of Bruce Campbell, but he can't do either one. And there's fun practical effects at the beginning where Sergeant Jackson is saving Stryker, who's been hurt, and he like piggybacks him and runs into the Viet Cong village. It's just going around in a circle, shooting the shit, blood squibs. It's funny how this low budget film has blood squibs, but a $50 million film nowadays can't. And yeah, I think that's pretty sad. Obviously, if you're historical in any note, if you're a soldier, former soldier of any note, you're probably going to know there's a lot of inaccuracies that will drive you insane. If it does, this isn't your movie. But again, for it's look at the title, look at the cover. That's the kind of movie you get. But it's pretty short. It's an hour and 20-some minutes. It goes pretty fast at the beginning. Again, you have Sam Raimi just being completely over the top, chewing the scenery as this Charles Manson type figure. Never touch the sacrificial fluids. Okie dokie. He just, as Josh Becker said was a TV Guide or there's something, I forget. They made up an award, worst performance by director. And Sam Raimi got it. The scene virus. But yeah, he's entertaining in a so bad it's funny way. And then when you get to the homeland after all that beginning part, it slows down a bit. Because Brian Schultz, we see him trying to deal with being back at home, sees his girlfriend, he's friends with his older guy, sometimes cuts to the cult doing their evil ways. And then when it gets to it, again, the three Vietnam buddies, like Robert Rickman and Tim Quill, then the movie I think picks up. Because they deal with these chicks. They deal with two of them, but John Manfredi can't deal with one. Oh, I'm starving. Yeah, I bet you're starving. Sex starved. And then they enter a bar. Oh, that bitch took my wallet! Man, look at you. No pussy, now no wallet. And they get in a fight with bikers. It's not John Wick, John Van Damme type of fight, but for a low budget movie, it's fun for what it is. And the music by Joseph LaDuca, who worked on the Evil Dead movies, he does a pretty decent job at the score. Although, there's one point I think he completely ripped off James Horner's score from Uncommon Valor. Because they get in a fight with bikers, they get to Sergeant Stryker, they start hanging out again, they get these weapons to shoot the shit out of something. And when they're getting the weapons, if you ever seen Uncommon Valor, which came out in 1983, and this started shooting in 84, came out in 85. In 83, Uncommon Valor came out. Again, so it just came out the year before, year or two before. Year before they shot, 2 years before it came out. And James Horner, the scene where the men are training and Fred Ward is dead, each of them, shit, I'm dead. Well, god damn it. Do 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 but do 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 do. He does almost the same score. He changes like 3 things to not get sued. But I'm like, wait a minute, I know that fucking score. Come on, dude. I mean, whatever anyone wants to say, he did rip that off. And that's where he finds Sergeant Stryker finds the old man dead. He finds his girlfriend. He's got to try to find where his girlfriend's at. His dog's been killed. Him and the 3 guys finally find in this campground these villains. Like they're throwing darts at this guy here. Turned into a bit of a pincushion. And a full-out battle. And even if you think the middle portion is slow, it has a good payoff. Nice gore, squibs, people getting shot in their ankles, or they're crushed by the hood of a car, or guarding shears in the eyes, both eyes at the same time. Someone gets a pincushion, their back gets pincushioned. Someone gets impaled through the mouth with a tree branch. Idea, you want Vietnam vets versus the Manson type of family, you get in the 3rd act. And in a weird way, it kind of helps that the 3 guys I was actually rooting for are the ones that getting some payback on these evil motherfuckers. Because the lead guy, he doesn't really kill anybody, he's just limping after Sam Raimi, try to catch up to him. While the other 3 do all the dirty work. And you get your money's worth. You get your title payoff in that. And actually the other... Yeah, this shows the men. There's Robert Rickman, the Mr. T, my favorite character. Then you have Brian Schultz. You have... okay, this is John Manfredi. And then this is Tim Quill, the guy who worked with him Army of Darkness later. There's Tim Quill. So it's like, reversible cover. There's Sam Raimi again. But I like this. I actually remember seeing this the first time on VHS. It was around 2006, maybe 2005. 2004, 2005, because that's when I was in San Marcos, Texas. And there was a place called Hastings, which is the best store I ever went to. And this is for rent, because the cover attracted me, and I'm like, okay. I think I first thought Bruce Campbell was in this, but then technically you hear his voice from a newscaster on TV, but again, like the opening, the middle section was what? Then again, the whole third act of just bloodbath and violence made it a satisfying watch. And like I said, I did grow to like the other three characters. And Brian Schultz isn't awful. It does make you miss Bruce. I'm like, I wonder if there's a way to edit like the short movie, but no. There's so many times where he's with other characters and then Brian Schultz is with his supporting cast. There's no way to edit it together to make it any way cohesive. So it is what it is. But yeah, this is a fun little independent horror movie. Well, action movie. Action with a bit of blood at the end. Well, it's an action movie with a bit of blood at the beginning and end of the film. Well, more than a little bit. There's a decent amount. It's pretty straightforward. And like I said, a lot of these guys went on to do, like Bruce Campbell. I think Joseph LaDuca did music for even like Moontrap, I believe, where Bruce Campbell was in. Josh Becker, he worked on episodes, I think, of Hercules and Xena. He did this sci-fi channel film with Bruce Campbell called Alien Apocalypse, which is only worth a watch if you have the DVD and listen to the commentary with Bruce and Josh Becker. And that is a great commentary because they complement each other very, very well. I think he also did a film with Bruce Campbell called Running Time, I believe. I don't know what else Josh Becker has done. I'm trying to think. Robert Rickman, sadly, he didn't act in anymore. He just went back to doing his the TV commercials, being Mr. T. And like I say, became a personal trainer. Ted Raimi's in the film for a little bit as one of the Manson family cult. He's a guy who has a chain. And at one point, when Sam Raimi says his line, "Don't touch the sacrificial fluids," he's supposed to tit Ted Raimi, and from what I understand, he tipped him for real. Because Sam Raimi always picked on Ted, his little brother. So he tits Ted Raimi for real, and then Ted was pissed. It's a low-budget but entertaining, fast-paced movie that gives you what you want from this kind of movie. With, again, a likable supporting cast that helps save it. It's never too boring. They got a decent amount for the low budget. There's a bit of ambitiousness throughout the flick. Yeah, you're trying to shoot a Vietnam opening in Michigan with like $60-some thousand, $70-some thousand. And it was originally supposed to be called Stryker's War, but Irvin Shapiro, the bid producer, like the guy who was going to try to sell the movie, he said it will be called "Thou Shalt Not Kill Except," which does sound like a tagline. But I mean, it's definitely a title that sticks out because there's no others like it. And Stryker's War may sound more fitting, but at the same time, maybe that sounds a bit more generic. But then, "Thou Shalt Not Kill Except," it's unique. I like the cover too. The cover, interesting cover. When violence demands revenge. Yeah, overall I do like it. Like I said, if Bruce Campbell got to be the star and he had his, charm that he brings to it, I think this would have been a bigger cult film. I think this would be even more well known in that circuit. Like I said, Brian Schultz was there, but he was the least effective of the main cast. But even those seasons, it was not that bad. He's not like god awful. He's a little bit more acting, and then just, I don't know if I want to say he's trying too hard, but if you like low budget action violent movies, this is definitely worth a look. And if you're able to pick this up, this might be out of print, definitely a good release. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.